breaking news before we get into the video. Cassidy is coming back to Chelsea. His loan at Reading has been cut short. What does that mean? Well, some people think it means Gallagher is leaving and that's his replacement. I don't think it is. Because last season, when we tried to sell Gallagher in January, he said no. You can't force a player to sign a contract they don't want to sign. You can't force a player to leave just because a bid has been accepted. Pochettino doesn't want him to go, so he won't go. Gallagher is not leaving this month. But what have we heard about Broja, which I'm going to talk about in the video later on? Chelsea are willing to let him go regardless of who comes in. A striker. We need a striker, right? Cassidy, potentially, will be that striker. He can score a header. 3 goals, I know, in 25 games, half of which have been off the bench, but Cassidy will be used as a target man or as a hit and hope cross header. There's your goal scoring, potentially midfielder turned striker. Watch Pochettino do it. You think I'm smoking crack? You think Chelsea are going to bring in anyone else up front when the market doesn't look too good? They'll probably just use this guy. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, but that's my prediction. And I can see Pochettino doing it. He has played players out of position before. Wait on it. Yo people, welcome back to the YouTube channel. You already know what time it is. It's time for another video. Big up your damn selves in the building. Make sure you smash up the likes every single damn time and subscribe if you are new. I've been waiting for the rumors and the news to circulate under the surface here today. We have some tangible shit to talk about. Now, Broja is on the topic, and also Nusa, who looks like he's potentially peddling his way to Tottenham. And there's an outpouring of emotion online for Chelsea fans who, let's be honest, Nusa was our target in the summer. It's a player that's still on our list, apparently in January, as a target for the left wing spot. Another young 18-year-old Norwegian who has talent. And there's this consensus that we should potentially hijack the move. Now, I've said this before. I'm going to say it again. Potentially more passionately, more angrily. I don't know. But we cannot sign everyone. We cannot buy everyone, which is why when Chelsea are interested in a talent, we as a people and they as a hierarchy and board need to be very, very careful and very, very damn sure that that's exactly the talent they want to invest in. And I'm not just talking about from an investing standpoint, from a money standpoint. I'm talking about an investing standpoint in terms of development and integration. We are yet to finish or even really get too far into starting our development process for some of the players we have signed already under this ownership. But yet people want to continue to add more. Now, explain to me how you can throw down double the money we're hearing, which is about 30 million euros potentially Tottenham are going to pay, and they're going to loan him back to the club. He's going to stay in Belgium until the end of the season and obviously start in pre-season. How on earth do you justify spending and having an 18-year-old left winger when you already have Mudryk on that left-hand side who needs so much development already? How do you justify having a Madueke on the right-hand side, but then saying that we need to go and sign a Willian on top of already having an Angelo out at Strasbourg? Even if you do sell, you have a Palmer who can play out there. How do you justify that? How do you ask a head coach to develop all 4, 5, 6 of these wingers at once and actually think they're going to make it to the top level and to their top potential? It's just not going to happen. And this is why we need to stray away from this obsession, this addiction to signing every single talent that props up. You have to be damn sure that when you pay that price for your Maduekes and Mudryks, that those are the wingers that you wanted. And that you're not going to be this kid in the candy shop in about 6 to 12 months' time that says, actually, no, those aren't the ones. It's this guy and this guy instead. Because what you do is you stockpile. Now, this is today it's Nusa, tomorrow it's Willian, the next day it's someone else. The manager, no matter how he's meant to be in terms of his reputation in developing young players, cannot have this many young players on the books at once. We need guarantees in these wide areas. Sterling, at his grown-ass age, doesn't even provide those guarantees. If you want your manager, and I've said it before, it's not even just managers that develop young players, it's also players. Like, they learn a lot from them in training. They learn a lot from their mannerisms, from their diet to their behaviors, to their application and their commitments, to the technique and the precision of the pass from Modric with the outside of the right boot. Bellingham said, I learned that from Modric. Other players have learned that from Modric in that Madrid team. If there is no one to learn from, there is less to learn. Not nothing to learn, but less to learn, because you have no inspiration in front of your eyes every day in the training ground. We are not Dortmund. We are not Brighton. Our job is to win. Our job is not to continue to keep buying young talents to develop them, because you know what happens whilst you're developing all these young talents at once? Not 3 or 4 in a squad. I'm talking about 10 plus. You get inconsistency, and you get inconsistency regardless. Now, this is already an unstable environment. People already don't have patience for the lack of results and the lack of output and the lack of guarantees. So add that instability into the inconsistency that was already guaranteed, and you get a whole heap of mess. You get 10th. You get 10th. And it's just the flavor of the month, right? Because this player is now already a hotter prospect than the ones we have. So we should bin those off, send them out on loan or sell them or whatever. And I'm sure if this person doesn't guarantee, which he won't, the results immediately, they will be saying the same about him in 12 months' time, and the cycle continues. And no youngster, no young player, unless they're generational talent, is going to deliver immediately for you, is going to give you guarantees immediately. So you need to have patience. You need to give them stability, stable conditions to develop, and with one set manager. And that is what this team doesn't do, this club doesn't do. So until we actually stabilize ourselves from a managerial standpoint, from a performance standpoint, and from a leadership, like I said, standpoint, in terms of having a clear spine, in terms of having players that you can look up to, that you can say, right, these are the guys that are going to deliver week in, week out, and I'm going to have my young players on the peripheral of the squad, trying to get minutes, trying to, improve, trying to get those little moments. I can't keep, and I won't justify any more players. I don't care who they are. I don't get it. Oh, this one, no. This one, no, we have to get this one. This one's really talented. No, I promise. No, I've heard enough. You said this about last one. You said about last one. You said that about last one. It's a disease. It has to end. Just because you see a young talent flourishing at another club and you say, "Oh, this is the pudding in the this is the proof in the pud, right? In the pudding," as Cams would say, a Vinicius or Rodrigo. It doesn't mean that's going to happen here, because our conditions are not the same here as they are there. Their squad is not the youngest squad, average age in La Liga. Their squad is not, they've not gone through 3 managerial changes in the last 3 years. Our manager's currently under pressure. You're going to sign this guy before you sack him? Make it make sense. So for all the Chelsea fans that are crying about Nusa, you'll find someone else to cry about in 6 months' time. I promise you. And you can't sign everyone. So yes, your rivals are going to sign young players that you rate. It's going to happen. Unfortunately, if you wanted this guy, you should not sign Modric. If you wanted Willian to have the best conditions to come in, you shouldn't have signed Angelo, in my opinion. Next up on the list is Broja. Broja's been valued at 50 million. Now, I get it. According to Matt Law, it's because Chelsea have taken into consideration that Hairline is 72 million and they're putting a price tag of 50 on Broja's head top because of Hairline. Now, there's 2 things that dictate the market for me, okay? There's the market, inflation, and there's also who is interested. Which clubs are interested in your player? They dictate also, because if you're selling to a bunch of broke clubs, in terms of the list of clubs interested, don't have money, you can't put a premium price if you actually want to sell. And this is the key. Chelsea want to sell. Chelsea are willing to sell Broja. Any deal not contingent, signing a replacement. West Ham, Wolves, Fulham interested. Those list of clubs do not have 50 million, I don't think, to pay for a Broja. Kudus just went to West Ham for less. Is Broja better than Kudus? No. Obviously, Kudus is a winger. He's a 10, but he's also played false 9 for Ajax. He's just not better than Kudus. So you can let the market dictate in terms of Hairline, but West Ham are going to say, we're going to dictate because of Kudus and the value there. And these clubs are not Manchester United. Manchester United notoriously spend a lot of money. Chelsea notoriously spend a lot of money. If these were the caliber of clubs interested in your player and you wanted to sell, you could put him at a premium price. These clubs like Wolves and Fulham don't have that money. They don't have that bread. So you have to You have to cater to that. So Ben Jacobs, who says sources indicate Chelsea's valuation is around 35 million. That's what I value Broja at a max. I think 35 million is a good, fair price from our point of view. Like if we were to bring in 35 million, I think that's good. Any more than that is crazy. I think it's a massive coup. It's a massive deal to get done from the board. If they can get more than 35 million, then fair play. But like I said, those clubs, I don't think they're going to be trying to do those prices. He got 6 goals in 32 for Southampton. That was his best period. That was his big loan spell. 6 goals in 32. He played well. It was decent. But let's not hype it up to be some double digits, 10 to 15 even, right? 6 goals. That's what he's standing on. And that's before the injury. So if you're going to sell him, and before this window kicked off, I said, listen, it makes sense to sell him, to bring that money onto the books and to, bring in a Benzema on a loan if it's possible. We're going to talk about it. That makes sense. You're trying to change the profile of your squad, the profile of your attack, and you're bringing in leadership experience and potentially should be guaranteed goal output over this player. But yeah, Chelsea's valuation is too high. West Ham have showed interest today with a loan deal, which is exactly what's going to happen if you overprice a player, because they feel like the funds are limited and there's little chance of meeting Chelsea's demands of 50 million for Broja, who is wanted by Fulham and Wolves. Broja wants to stay. He's still confident in his abilities to, carve a pathway at this club. Poch likes him, but I think Poch is also catching on quickly to the fact, hopefully, that he does need a striker because your job could potentially depend on it. Your job is not safe until the summer. Even if the sound bites in the briefing say so, if you were to go on a terrible run and put us in a crazy position, you would face potentially the sack. And rightly so. So you've got to make this window count. And I've said it before. I don't want to do a lot. I want to do a little, but I do think we have to do something. And I don't think you should leave your season to chance with this strike force. So you need to bring in a striker. And therefore, a player like this potentially needs to pave way. I don't mind Broja being a third choice and wait until the summer to potentially get his market value up. I don't know. But for me, you have to bring someone in. And then, Broja, do you really want to sit here as third choice when you could potentially get game time, which you need? I would question why you'd want to do that. So for me, that's the one in and out that has to happen this window. The other outs, Matsons, Trevor Chalobah's potentially going to Milan, I don't know. These will be, these will also happen and have happened. And the final thing is the Benzema situation. A lot of people have spoken about the wages and, he makes 3.2 or 3.3 million pound a week, 100 and something, whatever a year. For me, when it comes to Benzema, the wages are irrelevant. And I'll tell you why. For me, because no one can afford his wages. Every club in Europe cannot afford Benzema's wages that he makes in Saudi. There is no Real Madrid or Arsenal or PSG or anyone on the planet outside of Saudi or outside of those ridiculously wealthy nations that can afford his wages. So he's going to have to take a cut. He's either got to take that hit personally and say, I want to leave so badly that I'm willing to come back to normal wages, which are paid in Europe, or Saudi are going to have to cover those wages, or they're going to have to come to some sort of agreement where he's receiving some sort of percentage payout of his contract. And then they go from there, right? But the wages don't really have any relevance to us because we are not the only ones who will not pay them. Nobody will. The only thing we need to worry about is if he actually wants to join us. That's all we need to worry about. Can we compete, say, with Arsenal if they come in? There's no reason to suggest from a sporting level and a performance level we should be able to compete because they're way ahead of us in the table and are actually going for things and they're in the Champions League. So that's all we need to worry about. The competition and his own potential, preference. That's all we need to worry about. Don't worry about the wages. Don't worry about the finances because no one wants those. No one can compete. That's the dream situation in terms of a short-term option for me. And yeah, we'll see what happens. But to sum up this video, stop crying over 18-year-olds because there's loads of them. Broja, outpriced, and you ain't getting that fee, so get real. And Benzema, don't worry about the wage. No one gonna pay that. That's the video. Smash up the likes, guys. Make sure you subscribe. We will be there. We'll be back. Big up your damn selves in a bit. People. Peace. Come on.